So, hi Daniel.
Hi, Johanna.
It's so good to see you after such a long time. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thanks. Thanks for having me. It's an honor.
It's an honor for us. I mean, I'm pretty sure that everyone knows you, but still, would you mind starting with an introduction of yourself?
No, sure. I'm Daniel Cube, co-founder of Greenheart Games. We did Game Dev Tycoon in the past, and are now working on our second game, Tavern. Yeah, it's a short version of it.
Yeah, then let's go for the long version. We would we would love to hear everything about Greenheart games and how did you start and all the history behind the studio.
Okay, that's a pretty long story, and kind of an unbelievable story, I'd say. So Patrick and me, so my brother and me, we are both professional software developers and worked as a programmer for other companies before doing Game of Tycoon and Greenheart games. And at some point in 2010, we met in Malaysia uh, for vacation, basically, because he was living in Australia already and I'm in Austria. And then we just talked about, wouldn't it be cool doing something for us, like not working for some employer, but something for us. And it was quite fast. We came up then with the idea of just doing a game, like programming a game for ourselves. And the plan was, okay, let's do Game Dev Tycoon for mobile phones, which sounds a bit weird in retrospective. So then we went home from Malaysia and just started doing the project, right? Without any clue about game development, without any clue about the whole game dev scene, basically, and just did it. Started prototyping it in WPF, which is really weird. And then Microsoft announced kind of their Microsoft Store, and we said, okay, that's our thing. We need to be in there to be able to be visible within all the other games and stick out. So we did that, and fortunately, it was well received. And since then, we are, yeah, an independent game studio and working on our second game, basically, since 6 years. Yeah, it was again a short version, but
Yeah, but incredible journey, and I mean, I think like your first game is super known. This is like super famous.
yes, we were like at the time when we released the game for Windows Store, we were really not afraid, but kind of, yeah. It was a feeling like how will we get received, right? Like, will they tear us apart? Will the player tear us apart? Is the game just not enough, basically? Because the game is story wise, it's about 8 hours. It's all about the game history, of course, gaming history, of course, but it's lacking animations, for instance. It's just a few tiny animations, and it's not a typical kind of game, right? So we were yeah, quite afraid of the reactions. But fortunately, it was picked up quite well, and it was well received in the Windows Store as well, right? And then we could continue just saying, okay, now we want to make a native release of the game, like Windows, Linux, Mac, and stuff like that. And yeah, then before releasing it, we just thought about, okay, what should we do against piracy? Because we want to have an income for our living out of the game, because our plan was that at least one of us should be able to live out of it, and try to get the second game going, so that at some stage we can both live from making games, right? So that was the plan. And yeah, then we came up with this now well-known called piracy stunt of Game of Tycoon, which really worked for us. And yeah, we are happy that we are where we are now.
Yeah, incredible.
Mm.
You already mentioned something which I think is now a super exciting next topic. Speaking of game number 2.
Game number 2, yes. We are working since 6 years, I think, on Tavern Keeper, which is again a simulation game, of course, happening in the setting of a fantasy world with orcs and dwarves and stuff like that. And you're the one who needs to run the tavern and cater your patrons, so to say. And it's just immensely bigger than Game Dev Tycoon. And it takes ages doing such a thing. And it's really scary, but it's fun, and we hope we get to an end soonish.
Soonish sounds good.
Soonish isn't this year.
No pressure. Was a weird year for every one of us. So.
Yeah, it was an awful year. I hope next one will, at least the second half of the year, way better than 2020. I wish that everyone.
You mentioned already, like, a little bit the future plans. Is it something which you want to share with us, like a little bit of the next future steps, or something which I always find super interesting? Is there like a big future vision from Greenheart Games?
Well, the nearest future plans are, of course, releasing Tavern Keeper. And that's a huge thing, like a huge step for us as well. Like we scary as hell, of course, when you work for that long on such a big game. And after that, we will see. First of all, how long it will take us to continue Tavern Keeper, of course, by fixing additional content, stuff like that. And I hope that we can at some point get to develop the second part of Game Dev Tycoon, which would be really awesome. So, but that's further along the way, of course, right? But what I can say, company-wise, our plan is not growing really big or something like that. It's just, it's not us. We want to keep small, do our own stuff, and keep the how do you call that? The friction, maintaining a lot of people to the smallest amount possible, basically.
Yeah. No, I think, like, when playing your game, you can really feel a passion from developers really striving for something special, which, I don't know, it always feels like you developed something you actually wanted to play yourself. This is...
Yes, that was and is definitely the case. Like it was the case with Game Dev Tycoon. Unfortunately, if you do something for yourself, like which you want to play yourself, you won't be able to do that. That's a pity. So you're doing all the work and you will never be able to play it yourself because it doesn't make sense at all. You know everything. So you can't enjoy it as a new player, which is, yeah, it's the way it is, unfortunately. But you can, like, with Game Dev Tycoon, the Game Dev Tycoon, at least we had the pleasure of playing other Tycoon games afterwards, because it was kind of a, I wouldn't say dying out genre, but it's a really small niche genre. Directly after Game Dev Tycoon, there were much more of those games coming along, which was a nice side effect as a player.
That's cool. It's cool to see an influence. Then the next question would be, what advices could you give young developers?
That's a difficult one, I think. Like our road to, or our way to game development is really unusual, I think, because we just started doing a game on our side, on the side of a normal job, right? First of all, you can't do it in every living situation, basically. So, for instance, you can't do it when you have kids, or you can't do it when you need to take care of relatives, for instance, in your spare time or something like that. And of course, every social aspect of your life is kind of dying while doing that. Because, well, maybe the pandemic is a good time for doing such a thing, because then you won't need to cut anything, because social stuff is already cut by Corona. But I think the most important advice for me would have been, first of all, if you do it, you need to stick to it, no matter what it costs. Basically, like you shouldn't risk anything. You shouldn't risk your financial situation, your you shouldn't risk your life, basically, doing that. Not health-wise, not financial-wise, but you shouldn't just thinking about your game as a hobby project. You should think about it as the thing you want to do and stick to it. And I think it's a good thing to do it with someone else, so not alone. And best with someone you can't just stop your relationship, basically. Like, I think for Patrick and me, it was while doing Game Dev Tycoon multiple times where we almost quit. But there was this, I can't let my brother hang there, right? I can't just quit. And unfortunately, it was different times. So he wanted to go on, I didn't. And then the other way around. So it keeps you in there, basically.
That's cool.
Yeah, and just do it. You don't have anything to lose, right? You don't even lose the time doing it, because while doing it, you learn so many things. It's never lost effort.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That's super helpful and very inspirational. The last question, we already tackled this one a little bit. So this is either a challenging question or an easy one. But how was your 2020? And I mean, it was like a weird year and a challenging year for many of us. And I'm just interested, how did you cope with it? And is there something, I mean, you learned maybe for the coming years, or is there something you're really looking forward to, especially when things are getting normal again?
All right. I think there are, for me at least, two sides. One is the business side, one is the personal side. Business-wise, we didn't feel a lot of influence with Corona, of course, because we don't have an office. We are a completely remote working company. Of course, we felt on different times from different people in the company just struggles with the whole situations, you know. Like you can't concentrate 100% on your work while the world around you is going crazy, basically, right? So that's definitely a thing we felt, but fortunately, we weren't looking for a new project. We didn't need social contacts business-wise, so it was basically not existent for us. Personally, I really miss meeting people. just that. For instance, the scene Game Dev Graz or something like that, where you can meet once a month and just talk about other stuff, like not always your really close relatives or business. So just get out of your to be able to get out of your space, basically. That's a thing I really miss. But fortunately, in my close family, I don't know anyone who really got sick by it yet, so that's fine. Yeah, that's how I experienced the last year. One thing with the corona, which is really difficult for us as a family, is just we have two small kids, and that's hard to explain them why they can't meet grandparents or kids or go to kindergarten and stuff like that. That's I think that's one of the worst things for us or for the kids.
Daniel, thank you so much for this really, really interesting and honest conversation. It has been a pleasure, and we are so much looking forward to play your game. So,
Me too.
yeah. So, yeah. Hopefully, we'll see each other soon at one of the future real Game Dev Graz meetups again. And yeah.
I hope so. Thank you a lot.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.